Hello everybody. I'm feeling a bit low energy right now, and I don't know why. I'm thinking it's because I haven't had any coffee today, and there's a real nagging part of my brain that's like, hey, have a coffee today. And I'm like, no, it's like 8 o'clock at night. So I was gonna make a bigger deal out of this whole segment, but then I realized, you know what? I'm a bit tired. You're tired. We're all tired. So I just thought I'd sit on the couch and we would just do a little casual discussion of the entire ranking. So I figured I would just list out every movie in order, and we shouldn't be taking this official ranking all that seriously. Even looking at the list right now, I'm already kind of like, maybe I should move some things around, but it's going to take me forever. I'm never going to film this segment and just get it done if I don't just go with what I've already spent hours and hours and hours doing. Anyways, yes, I'm going to list out my official ranking of every Disney Channel original movie. I'm only going to talk in depth about the bottom 15 and the top 15 because that's all we really care about in the first place. But everything after and before that, I'll just list it in order. Okay, so let's start at the very bottom. My least favorite dcom has got to be, without a question, Tiger Cruise. Here's the thing about Tiger Cruise, okay? I did come down on it pretty hard for being military propaganda, because that's what it is. And if it was just that, maybe it wouldn't be my least favorite decom. I mean, Cadet Kelly is right there. But it's also just the fact that the movie itself is so bad, and it isn't even just trying to recruit kids into wanting to join the military. I would argue it is also somewhat shaming kids for being upset with the fact that because their parents are in the military, their lives are difficult. I would prefer a movie that was more sympathetic to that kind of situation and not saying, hey, your parents are doing something important. Like, I think a kid can understand that their parents are doing something important by being in the military already. It's pretty ingrained to most American children at a very young age. I just feel like there should be more compassion and less like, now you gotta join the military too, guys. It's literally because a war was starting. A literal war was starting and happening the same year that this movie came out. And I just think it's pretty disgusting to be like, enlist kids so you can fight in our war. Anyways, that's why I don't like Tiger Cruise.
119.
We have Frenemies. Now, this is just a bad movie. There's really nothing wrong with the stories that are being told. They're just told very, very, very poorly and barely stitched together to make what one might assume could possibly be considered a movie on some sort of alien planet, maybe. I honestly did not think that this was going to be this low, but I mean, I don't really have anything nice to say about it. Each story somehow feels like it drags on for way too long, but is also extremely belated because there's 2 other stories to tell. And then the movie doesn't even end. There's not even an official ending or conclusion. They just have a dance party to a boring, low-quality pop song, and then it just ends. And this movie hasn't even garnered like a fandom or like anybody who really cares about it. I don't hear anybody talking about it. I just think it's a bad time. No need to watch it. Movie 118 is Hounded. This is just not a fun movie. It has that very generic branding of like boring 2000s made-for-TV movie, while also just being an extremely, extremely painful viewing experience. I was extremely shocked at just how low this movie was willing to go just to not even give that satisfying of a conclusion at the end. Genuinely, if you ever go and watch this movie ever, just count how long that this poor character just gets harassed. Like, not a single good thing happens in his life. And he has to actively work extremely hard just to get back to normal. Not even, like, he doesn't even achieve anything special. He just gets the privilege of things going back to normal. Which wasn't even that good to begin with, might I add. I guess you can say the only good thing that really happened was that the horrible headmaster is no longer headmaster and has been demoted. So there's at least something positive there. But overall, I don't think the Van Busens, I don't think they get enough of a punishment, and I don't think the main characters get enough good stuff to justify the fact that this kid's entire childhood home was brutally ripped to shreds by some rabid dog. It's not fun to watch. It's like a horror movie. It's not a funny, quirky, uh-oh, the dog's going crazy sequence. It's just painful. So movie 117 is The Genie Project. Again, I don't understand why in the early 2000s the Disney Channel thought people would enjoy watching brutal animals just destroy a family's life. And it's not even entertaining. That's one thing. It would be one thing if this was like some crazy wildlife documentary type of situation. But no, this is a bland and boring ass film that for some reason just happens to have the most insane plot. That seems to be the case for a lot of the early dcoms. It's just like the most wild, cuckoo bananas plot you could think of, executed in the most possible boring way. And I don't have a lot of tolerance for that kind of movie. So at 116, we have the movie Zapped. I absolutely hate the fact that both of the movies that Zendaya have been in that are dcoms were absolute dog shit. Because I like Zendaya as an actress. I think I liked her in Shake It Up. I don't know, I haven't seen that show since it aired, and I only saw like the first 5 episodes of the first season. And I've never seen Casey Undercover. So I don't know if her work on the Disney Channel really holds up over time or not, but what I do know is that I like a lot of the stuff she's done recently. I'm a Zendaya stan, I'm a big fan of hers, which is why it's so disappointing that they only gave her horrible dcoms. Zapped has just such a bizarre concept, and it is executed in the worst possible way. I think it'd be funny if maybe everybody was controlled by her like dog app that got electrocuted or whatever. But the fact that it's specifically to boys, I don't know, it just kind of makes me feel very icky. This is a very icky movie. I don't know how else to describe it. And yeah, I'm just not having fun. I'm not having fun. And if I'm not having fun, then what are we even doing here? Speaking of not having fun, movie 115 is The Poof Point. I feel so bad for Taj Mari. Am I pronouncing his name right? I hope I am. Another example of both of the dcoms they gave him are just horrible. They're just not a good time. It's so sad because his twin sisters happened to get one of the best decom series, and he got 2 of the worst decoms. The Poof Point is one of those things. Oh, hey, more light. The Poof Point is one of those things where you already feel bad for the kids because they feel like they're being neglected by their parents. And then it gets even worse because their parents almost reached the Poof Point and they just have the worst, most stressful day of their lives. It's not as bad as Hounded because we at least empathize with the parents a little bit, and then they do end up changing in the end. Like, we do see some positive outcome at the very end. But again, it's not that fun of a movie, and I can see some people actually enjoying this, however. Like, everything pretty much after this, I'm like, okay, I kind of see what they were trying to do. I could see some people having a lot of nostalgia for this movie, but again, this movie will only really be like something I could see someone having a positive reflection of if they never go back to rewatch it. Because like, if you like this movie, you remember liking it, watching it growing up, if you go to rewatch it, it's very likely that you're either not gonna like it or you're just gonna be indifferent. It's not gonna like spark any new joy for people in the modern day. And with the fact that there are so many of these decoms, it's kind of sad that for a lot of these movies, that's the case. Movie 114 is The Luck of the Irish. What a weird concept, and what a weird execution for an already weird concept. I think it's supposed to be a movie of self-discovery or something, but it ends up just being a mess. Just a mush of a movie. The villain's like kind of interesting, maybe. I like the main character, he's a pretty cool guy. I forget the actor's name, I'll put it on screen. But I think he did a really good job of playing like a good Disney ingenue boy. I would argue he's one of my favorite decom actors and he's only really ever been in one actual good decom in my opinion, which is Smart House, for those who are forgetting. But I can't justify putting this movie any higher. Like, even though I don't like this movie, I don't feel like outright hate for it like I do maybe the first 4 films on this list. I'm pretty indifferent towards it, but like all of the movies after it are better, so it just ends up being in the bottom 10. Overall, yeah, not a big fan of The Luck of the Irish. At number 113, we have, sadly, The Sweet Life movie. God, what can I even say about this movie that I haven't said already? I've talked about it in my 2-hour Sweet Life on Deck retrospective, and I pretty much said all I had to say about it in my review, in previous parts. It just doesn't take any of the characters seriously. The story is absurd in a different way than other on deck stories have been absurd. And it's just disrespectful. It feels like a slap in the face to anyone who actually cares about this series. One thing that I didn't mention in my review was how it just ruins the whole plot of the series. It just doesn't fit in the continuity of the TV show, which is more proof that, like, it was done just so last minute, which is weird because this show has been on for literal years. You'd think they would have thought of an idea for a movie a little bit earlier, but it feels like it was rushed, and it feels like it was written by completely different people who had never even seen the show before. So because of that, I hate it, and that's so sad to me. Like, you would think that the Sprouse twins, some of the most successful Disney Channel stars, would have a good decom, but no. Genuinely a pointless movie. It added nothing to the story. It contributed nothing to the decom list. Just a waste of everyone's time. Truly. At number 112, we have True Confessions. This movie just makes me feel bad. This is a bad time kind of film. This is a film that will put you in a bad mood. And that's for multiple reasons. The main one just being that, like, I don't like the point of its existence. It's not that the story is one that I don't think should be told. It just represents Disney Channel's whole MO during the 2000s when it came to disabled children, which is that they're not as important as the feelings of able-bodied people who have to deal with them. Multiple movies on this list have that be like a central theme, and that just makes me upset. And also, I just don't think the depiction of whatever learning disability that the character might have is in any way something that is a positive contribution to a conversation that we should be having. It's just best left in the past, and it feels weird that I even had to watch it and talk about it in the modern day, because why does it even exist, honestly? I can understand what they were trying to do, really, truly, but I just don't like it. I'm sorry. At number 111, we have You Lucky Dog. Do you guys remember You Lucky Dog? Because I do. I wish I could forget this movie.
You have no idea how bad it gets. I wish I knew how to quit you.
Because it is just so bizarre. What a weird thing we have on our hands here. It makes me wonder if a lot of the Disney premiere films also have a similar aura to this, which is goofy and chintzy. Like, this movie feels like the equivalent of like a very lazy, thrown together, like dog and human Vegas show act. It's just so chintzy and goofy in a way that like is not charming. Although I did think it was very funny. That's probably the only reason why it's not like the worst decom, is because it is a good laugh. It's good to have a nice laugh if you had a couple of drinks or you're high or whatever. But since I do neither of those things, this movie does not have any substance for me in my life. At number 110, I'm so sorry, guys. I kind of feel bad because, especially because I got a lot of hate for this opinion. But at number 110, I have to say Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century, it deserves to be here. No offense to Xenon, I think the idea and the concept is very fun, but this first movie, I just don't like the character of Xenon, and in a special, different way than some of the other unlikable decom characters who have to learn a lesson. I really don't feel like she really learns anything in this movie, and it has been a while since I've seen it, so, you know, I'm willing to be corrected in the comments below, so feel free to do that. I understand that her going to Earth is supposed to ground her, but I really don't see her improve as a person and become less selfish. and she seems to get rewarded for all of her bad behavior. Honestly, though, now that I'm talking about it, I think I do like this movie more than some of the next ones we have to talk about. So maybe you can imagine that it's a little bit higher up. I would probably actually move this movie a little bit higher. It's just kind of sat on this bottom tier for such a long time. But after some of the next movies we have to talk about, maybe it's not that bad. So take this part of the ranking with a grain of salt, okay? Movie 109 is Under Wraps 2. I cannot really describe, because of just how apathetic I was during my reviews, I can't describe how much of a painful experience it was to watch these movies. I guess that's why I could put Xenon below these, because that was also a pretty painful viewing experience. I just kept wanting to turn off the movie, which these movies are supposed to go down real easy. They're not supposed to be difficult watches. They're not really even supposed to evoke intense emotions out of you at all. So the fact that these movies evoked an intense reaction of hate says something very bad. I might as well lump in Under Wraps 2021 with this because it's at 108. These are kind of right next to each other in the ranking. I do think Under Wraps 2 is a little bit more worse because it is just a little bit more pointless than the first one. And the first one's already pretty fucking pointless. I think my absolute least favorite things about these things, other than them just being full-on checklist films, where things just kind of happen for no reason, and in a very awkward and clunky way that does not feel natural or smooth. There are plenty of other films on this list where that's the case, but I don't really feel that it's as jarring as it is for this. But I think what makes that clunkiness feel even worse is that this movie, to me, feels like it thinks I'm stupid. I feel the movie talking down to me like I'm literally a newborn or something. I don't understand words. Or even just basic story conventions, basic story function. I've never heard of it before in my whole life. Literally every human being on the face of the earth understands story structure, so the fact that this thing is talking down to me is annoying, and it makes me so mad, and it makes this watching process just so frustrating. There's nothing natural about these movies. There was no innate passion for this project. It was literally just let's just do a remake of a previous dcom. I don't know, the first one, Under Wraps. And there's no important underlying message they're trying to tell the audience. We're not supposed to endear ourselves to any of the characters, because if we were supposed to, then we would actually see them being cool characters that we would endear ourselves to, rather than the characters just telling us their life and everything that happens. I've talked about it for too much. I don't like these movies. They do have a cozy, fall, comforting energy, and just because they were made in the 2020s does not mean that they're bad. That's not the reason why they're bad. It's all the other stuff. At number 107, we have Rip Girls. Now, here's the thing about Rip Girls. I was so energetic and hype at this point during the watch through. I think this was, movie 20-something, 30-something, kind of in the early 40. I was very energized about this project and very, excited to, really just, watch all of the movies and plow through them. I was watching, 3 movies a day, every day, for around a month, I think, or something like that. And I was still bored to tears by this movie. So I think that proves that, it's so plain and boring. Also, I've never been to Hawaii, so I don't really know much about Hawaiian culture or the whole state itself. But I don't know if this movie is a great representation of it or anything, but maybe that's just me. Especially for this girl who feels very disconnected from her culture. I would like to see, more culture. Maybe. I feel like we just got 1 or 2 scenes when I should really feel this character really engrossing themselves with this life that they've been so disconnected from because of their father taking them away, because of the trauma of losing their parent. Anyways, it's boring. It's so boring. Oh my gosh. And finally, for the in-depth reviews, we have movie 106, which is Ready to Run. See what I said about Rip Girls. It's just so boring. Oh my gosh. I guess I can try and explain why these movies are boring, and I think it's just that they don't have a lot of substance to them, and then also they're very quiet. They don't have a lot of exciting like elements to them. So there's no interesting like character dynamics to really dig ourselves into. No interesting conversations or complex topics to really chew on during the quiet moments of the movie. It's just quiet and simple, which is what I think makes it boring. Because there's nothing wrong with a quiet, simple movie. The story of a girl who wants to be a horse jockey but can't because her mother is traumatized because her father died in a horse jockey related accident. That's a perfectly fine plot if there's actual interesting stuff happening in it. The topic is only interesting if you make it interesting. And then somehow she can talk to horses and it still is the blandest movie I've ever seen. I don't think they do anything interesting or unique with that. Like, I understand that since she can literally talk to the horse and she can understand what the horse is saying, so she understands its needs, that's why she's able to be a better horse jockey. That really doesn't make the story one worth telling, if that makes sense. You're not gonna get me inherently on horse talking in a funny accent. Like, there has to be a reason as to why this is, like some sort of, more substantial theme or something. And it has to actually be funny and not just annoying. Anyways, I don't like this movie, and no one talks about it, so there you go. Now I'm just going to list off each movie and the number of the ranking that it's at until we get to the top 15, and then I will go back to talking about in length the top 15. 105, Christmas Again. 104, Kim Possible. 103, The Cheetah Girls, One World. 102, You Wish. 101, Life is Rough. 100, Full Court Miracle. 99, Double Teamed. 98, Right on Track. 97, Miracle in Lane 2. 96, Quint. 95, A Ring of Endless Light. 94, Going to the Mat. 93, Johnny Kapahala, Back on Board. 92, Cadet Kelly. 91, How to Build a Better Boy. 90, Stepsister from Planet Weird. 89, Genius. 88, Horse Sense. 87, Buffalo Dreams. 86, The Naughty Nine. 85, Up, Up, and Away. 84, Return to Halloween Town. 83, Xenon the Sequel. 82, The Proud Family Movie. 81, Cheetah Girls 2. 80, Descendants, The Rise of Red. 79, The Other Me. 78, Can of Worms. 77, Bad Hair Day. 76, Jet Jackson the Movie. 75, The Even Stevens Movie. 74, Zombies 2. 73, Zombies. 72, Zombies 4, Dawn of the Vampires. 71, Zombies 3. 70, Xenon Z3. 69, The Slumber Party. 68, Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure. 67, Now You See It. 66, Den Brother. 65, Big City Greens the Movie Spacecation. 64, The Ultimate Christmas Present. 63, Camp Rock 2 Final Jam. 62, Go Figure. 61, The Color of Friendship. 60, The Cheetah Girls. 59, Dad Napped. 58, Princess Protection Program.
57. Prom Pact.
56, Read It and Weep. 55, Cloud 9. 54, Tangled Before Ever After. 53, Phantom of the Megaplex. 52, Alley Cat Strike. 51, Descendants. 50, Descendants 2. 49, The Scream Team. 48, Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire. 47, Minutemen. 46, Upside Down Magic. 45, Spin. 44, Stuck in the Suburbs. 43, Under Wraps, 1997. 42, Don't Look Under the Bed. 41, Starstruck. 40, Kim Possible Movie, So the Drama. 39, Descendants 3. 38, Adventures in Babysitting. 37, Girl vs. Monster. 36, Camp Rock. 35, Hatching Pete. 34, The Swap. 33, Jumping Ship. 32, Twitches 2. 31, Freaky Friday. 30, Cowbells. 29, Jump In. 28, Motocrossed. 27, Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off.
26. Teen Beach 2.
25, Pixel Perfect. 24, Smart House. 23, Invisible Sister. 22, Let It Shine. 21, Phineas and Ferb the Movie Across the Second Dimension. 20, The 13th Year. 19 Twitches, 18 Johnny Tsunami, 17 Halloween Town High, and 16 Avalon High. No cuts. All in one take. I'm just kidding. I'm definitely gonna have to cut. Okay, on to my top 15. Yay! One thing I do want to preface about basically my bottom 15 and my top 15 is that at the end of the day, don't take this too seriously. Most of the movies in my top 15 and my top 10 aren't in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I'm just meeting these movies where they're at, which is something that's important to do with, I think, any sort of work. You kind of have to take it for what it is and you have to accept it for what it is. I found that a lot of movies that I don't like are movies that do things that I don't want them to do. I'd rather them do one thing and they're doing another. And so it's like, it's not the movie's problem. It's my problem. So as much as I like a lot of these movies, it is not like my entire personality. I think people need to watch all kinds of movies of all different types. I fear that a lot of the people who might be in my audience only really watch stuff from when they were little or from when they were kids or stuff made for kids just because it's stuff that's made for grown-ups or stuff that is more quote-unquote highbrow is a lot more complicated to dissect, and a lot of these movies are very simple, and so they just want to stick with things that are very simple and easy to understand and digest. And me personally, I do not want to consume art that way, and I think it can be kind of damaging to only consume art that is easily digestible for us. Sometimes you have to try new things and get out of your comfort zone and be uncomfortable with the media that you watch. So when I talk about how much I love the rest of these movies, just know that they're good for what they are, okay? I mean, some of these are even better. Like, they really do strive into like some of the best films. But there is more media out there, and to a certain degree, I don't think it's fair to compare these movies to some of my actual favorite movies because those are just in a completely different sphere when it comes to technical execution, themes, acting, etc. So anyways, with all of that out of the way, at number 15, we have Get a Clue. This was just such a fun watch. Like, this is a movie I would recommend somebody watch if they're just interested in a 2000s dcom, like a random one that's not well remembered. It is somewhat well remembered because it does have Lindsay Lohan in it, and the little mystery plot is just very cute. I love the fashion of this movie. I love the kind of like character. There's a lot of character in this film, and the characters are very charming even though they are a bit self-centered at the beginning. Like, both Lindsay Lohan and Brenda Song's character learn to look outside themselves for a little bit and basically understand more about the real world. And especially for Lindsay Lohan's character, that means something because she wants to be a journalist and she finds that whole world interesting, and she has to understand people outside of her small little sheltered bubble if she wants to do that as a job profession. And yeah, I love just like the little kiddie crew they get together and the investigating they do. We have a cute little enemies to lovers arc with the two main characters, and I appreciate that they learn to understand each other better and that it's not outright a romantic story. It could be seen as a romantic pairing, but they pretty much stay friends by the end of the movie. They're both kind of judging each other on the surface level, but then they learn to appreciate more about their inner complexities, and I think that's very cool. At number 14, we have 'Twas the Night. Man, this is just such a goofy little film. There's a certain kind of cheese that I'm looking for when I'm watching a Christmas movie, and 'Twas the Night has the cheesiness. It has the cheese factor. Bryan Cranston has such great physical comedy, and he's able to play this sort of like sly, kind of witty character with some hidden complexity. Like, you can tell he seems like a very damaged character that really comes across even in like small, minute moments. Even though he's doing bad things and the story, reprimands him for the bad things that he's doing, you still are kind of rooting for him because, like, to a certain degree, maybe I should let my baby girl steal. It's cool to see the main boy character, I forget his name, I'm sorry. I've seen 120 of these things. It's probably some name like Michael or Brandon or something like that. I like his arc where he's basically like falling in line with his uncle's kind of huckster roots, but then realizing that like, oh, it's actually not cute when you're like like a loser who steals money from people and lives in a attic. Oh, that's actually really embarrassing and sad, and I don't want to replicate that. That's a cool arc because I think a lot of kids like have to face that reality at some point. I think it's pretty common that like you look up to somebody because you just think they are so cool and awesome, and then you realize that like the things that you have been idealizing as cool are actually the lamest things in the whole world. That's like the kind of dynamic I get between these two, and I think it's funny. Plus, I barely even touched on the B plot kind of storyline, which is the younger siblings hanging out with Santa, and also just the fact that Santa is real. I think this is a good way to do Santa when they make bits. You know, he's not just like this godlike character. I love the fact that Santa like throws it down with a couple of like street gang members in an alleyway. He full on gets in a fist fight with a couple of random dudes in front of a trash fire. What a weird movie. I highly recommend it around Christmas time. At number 13, we have another Christmas movie. We have Good Luck Charlie, It's Christmas. This is really where my own personal bias comes into place because other than the Sweet Life movie, pretty much all of the other dcoms that are based off TV shows are shows I haven't seen, but yet these two I have seen and they're in the top 15. So like, bias. Don't take this seriously at all, okay? This is just for fun. I'm just sharing my personal opinions with you guys. Anybody will have a completely different list than mine because the thing about the dcoms is that they're just so subjective because they really do just reach a very, very peculiar spot in the back of your mind. It's this weird thing that Disney, when its magic is at play, what it can do is it reaches such a specific part of your brain that like almost feels like it's part of your DNA. Even if they're not good, there's still something so important and sentimental about a lot of these movies to you. So that's why they stick with you and then they end up being seen as such high pieces of media, even if they aren't actually that good. We might have to touch back to this rant a little bit later on from now. But no, I do think Good Luck Charlie, It's Christmas does things better than some of the other dcoms in general, and also dcoms based off of TV shows on this list. Specifically the fact that like the stakes are exactly where they need to be. This is still a wacky sitcom plot, you know, wacky sitcom hijinks still occur, and like an average family is not going to be in this situation. But it still feels pretty grounded and speaks true to the sitcom genre that the TV show is. Like, we have funny little jokes about the airport and TSA, and more quote-unquote thrilling situations that are still very, you know, quaint, like the fact that they bought a crappy Yugo from some guy for like $40, and the brakes just completely rip out, and they're tumbling down the Rocky Mountains with no brakes. That's as high as the stakes need to be for a Good Luck Charlie movie. Of course, there are fundamental problems with Good Luck Charlie as a series, ones that I plan on discussing in length in a little bit from now on my channel, working on that Good Luck Charlie retrospective video. Knowing my luck, Kean Carlisle's gonna finish his video before I do, and then I'm gonna look like I'm following in his coattails once again. That's okay, I don't mind being in that position. So I don't really want to get into the problems that may arise in the characterization of the characters in this movie, because then I'll just end up going on a big old rant about the TV show and we'll be here for forever. So just know that I think this is a very fun Christmas movie. Even if you've never seen the show, this will still be perfect for your Christmas movie watching. I just like Christmas movies more than the average person, I think. That's kind of a fact about me. I just think, like, I'm willing to lower my standards for a movie to rock bottom if it has a Christmas song in it and some jingle bells and a mistletoe or two. So the fact that there are Christmas movies out there, like this one and like the previous one on the list, that are like actually good and actually fun and explore unique topics, means that I really enjoy them and I'm going to sing their praise. Anyways, on to the next thing. Wow, I'm so tired. I feel like I'm gonna keel over any minute now. At number 12, we have Halloween Town 2, Calabar's Revenge. I bet so many people are like, what? Why is this so high? And that's a fair enough question to ask. I feel like the Halloween Town series has a very weird legacy where like everyone loves the first one, including myself, and everyone loves the third one, including myself. It just barely, you know, scraped out of the top 15. So I still really do love that movie. But The second movie and especially the fourth movie seem to have such like bad reputations, and I don't understand why, because Halloween Town 2 is a great Halloween movie. The same thing goes for Halloween movies that they do for Christmas movies. Basically, any holiday themed movie, I'm willing to lower my standards for quality movie just for good holiday vibes. And the Halloween Town movies are good movies while also providing good Halloween vibes. So it's good all around. I'm famously somebody who does not like scary movies all that much. I'll partake in a scary movie or two if it's just that good, but I'm not a general fan of the genre. But when it comes to silly kids' spooky movies for Halloween, I'm on board. I love them all the way. I think the villain and Marnie, their sort of chemistry together, as well as Marnie's like character growth throughout this movie, is what signals it as such a great film. And I know that the two actors are like engaged or have been together for like 10 million years. I know about that, trust me. And their sort of like chemistry, even if it's not romantic, because Marnie never shows any sort of romantic interest in Cal, but even just like their like tension that they have on screen, it's so good. I kind of wish they were like with each other more throughout the film, because after the opening scene at the Halloween party, they're like not really in the same room together until the very end when they're fighting. And of course, that leads me to saying the CGI, it's okay. It's very chintzy. I would argue for a young person, they'd be like, what am I looking at? And they probably wouldn't find charm in it, but I do. Personal bias. Sometimes, don't tell people this, okay? Because I don't want to get canceled. But sometimes I put on this movie for Halloween time, and I don't watch the first Halloween Town. This was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I swear, I would tell people that I liked Halloween Town 2 more than the first one. And that's not the case anymore. But still, this is such a great film. Oh, it's so weird, the plot. That, like, all of the Halloween Town members are becoming, like, boring humans. Oh, it's so funky, and I love that. So I highly recommend you watch the whole Halloween Town series, honestly. At number 11, and it makes me feel so sad that this isn't actually in the top 10 as a whole, we have Teen Beach Movie. So there is one crucial thing that is keeping Teen Beach Movie out of the top 10, which is very upsetting. And that crucial thing is that there are 2 movies from one franchise in my top 10. So if I were to do some sort of rule that like only one movie from each franchise is allowed in the top 10, then maybe Teen Beach Movie would be at number 10. But right now it has to be at number 11. Purely speaking, from a choreography and music standpoint, this thing is on fire. This thing is so good. Because the thing about a musical is that, like, it needs to be 1/3 a good movie. It also needs to be 1/3 a good soundtrack and 1/3 a good dance sequence. And this has all of it, baby. Something that I really appreciated about the movie is that we have these long, like, no-cut scenes where there is just dance happening. And it really, really does elevate the story. There are plenty of movies, like the zombies movies, for example, where there is a lot of really good dancing. But when it comes time for the main characters to, like, actually do some, cool, crazy stunts and stuff, especially because their characters in universe are supposed to be doing cool, crazy stunts and stuff, they're not doing it. They, like, have to cut away, and they feel just slightly underwhelming. Just slightly, though. I do stand by the opinion that the zombie series does have good choreography and does have general good concepts for a musical. It's just that the plot is dog shit, and that's why they ended up so low on the ranking. If the actual story that those movies were trying to tell were good, then maybe they would be among the ranks of Teen Beach Movie. Because I would say that Teen Beach Movie is that. Give it up for my guy Ross Lynch. I like him. In my rewatch of this movie and subsequent rewatches, because I rewatch this movie a lot, in those subsequent rewatches, I've kind of poked fun at Ross Lynch's acting in this film a little bit, just a little bit, because to a certain degree, it is a bit dry at times. This led me to, like, spiral when I thought of, like, what is Disney Channel acting? Is it seen as a valid form of acting just because it's a little bit more surface level, less quote-unquote complex, because it's more, like, theatrical in nature? Anyways, I literally can't get into that now, But I think he does a great job in this movie. And so does Maya Mitchell. She's kind of like the main character, Mac, because we have to see her arc. I like seeing her subtly change when she interacts with the Wet Side Story characters. And also just all of the Wet Side Story stuff is so fun and cute. I bought the soundtrack on CD. I don't have it with me right now, and I'm not getting up to go show you guys that I have it, but I'll insert a photo and post or something maybe. I don't know. It has the sauce that any good musical movie needs to have, and I really appreciate it for that. At number 10, we have Gotta Kick It Up. So Gotta Kick It Up really surprised me on my first ever watch because I'd basically never heard of it before, yet it's a masterpiece. Like, it's so good. Now, this is an example of a good ensemble cast where each character gets just the right amount of characterization. We understand the desires and struggles of all of these characters, and we are endeared to them through watching them try and succeed. And the main character, I really like her sort of arc. It's kind of a more unique arc because she's sort of like a bad girl troublemaker who is just ready to drop out and just enter the real world. And that's because the education system as a whole has failed her and her boyfriend, who has already dropped out and has just started working. And it isn't until an adult shows her that, like, she ain't grown. She still needs to be doing little kid things like, you know, cheerleading and stuff. Sorry, it's actually like a drill dance team, I think. So it's building community through children-friendly activities that really helps ground these people and, you know, focus them on like improving their lives, which I think is really cool. It shows that these sort of school activities and systems need to be put in place for more children, no matter their economic standpoint. And I just really appreciate that. Plus her and her struggles with her boyfriend, I feel like it's a very realistic struggle for a lot of kids. And to a certain degree, I like that they get back together. I would have liked to seen a little bit more of an apology from the boyfriend because he's basically like, "You're stupid for wanting to dance. Why don't you just drop out already? Why do you care about your education?" But I mean, they're children. And so like 2 seconds later, he's like, "That was stupid of me to say. Why did I say that?" Basically, he couldn't handle being with an ambitious queen. And then he learns that, you know, it's actually not that difficult, bro. And I don't know, I just like the story of a bunch of kids who have already basically given up on life because they've just been told that they're not going to be able to succeed in anything special, relearning that sort of magic that, like, whatever they want to do, whatever their dreams are, they are achievable. Isn't that wonderful? And then also, it's just a deeply relatable movie for me. Like, this is what my high school looked like. This is what I looked like in high school. Like, very, very relatable in terms of just, like, the surface level, like, aesthetics of it and the cast. And that's enough for me for this movie because it also has that very well done story with it. See, you can't just ready to run be like, "Hey, here's a bunch of Hispanic people. Do you like our movie now?" No, it actually has to be a good story. And this movie has it. We're in a very interesting spot right now because I would argue that like literally any of these movies between number 10 and number 5 could honestly just be shuffled around because they're all so good, but all kind of like in a similar way. So at number 9 we have Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior, and if I'm being completely honest, the only reason why this is at number 9 or not number 10 is because I thought the action scenes were cool. It's very likely that tomorrow I'm gonna be like, "Duh, why did I put Wendy Wu at number 9? It should be number 10. Oh, those action sequences are so cool. I mean, like, genuinely, I was gobsmacked watching this movie. There's just something so entertaining about just a good kung fu action sequence. And according to the comments, I don't know if this is true, I didn't do any research on it, but apparently the people who were choreographing this movie, the fight scenes, specifically the martial arts scenes, are also the choreographers for a lot of Power Rangers stuff, so that's cool. I do want to take back one thing that I did say in my review. No one has mentioned it, but I just want to, clarify. I'm not sure if this is actually a wuxia film, or if I'm pronouncing the term wuxia correctly. Because I now understand that, like, a wuxia film is more than just a kung fu master basically going on the hero's journey arc. So I'm not sure if this is actually one, but either way, it's still a really good story. Again, I like Wendy Wu as a little bit more of like an unlikable main character. Here's one thing about me, okay? And again, this proves my personal bias. When it comes to unlikable characters where the whole kind of bit is the fact that, like, they're just an annoying teenage girl, I'm always way more likely to actually like them, because what is so wrong about just being an annoying teenage girl? Like, that's a majority of teenage girls and just teenagers in general are going to be slightly annoying, okay? And I can forgive them for that. Because it's not a crime or anything, geez. So yeah, she cares about homecoming, which is a frivolous thing. I appreciate that she learns the importance of her role in the world and learns to actually like it and appreciate it. It's kind of scary as a kid to be told that, like, hey, you're gonna do this one thing. So of course she's like, no, I'm just going to ignore it and pretend it's not happening. And another thing I appreciate is that the only way for her to actually defeat the evil would be for her to, like, actually want to do it. Like, if she doesn't want to do the whole quest or whatever and actually become a kung fu master, then it's not going to work if they just force her to do it. They have to let things naturally go with the flow. So I appreciate that she learns to find real-world application to her new talents. She enjoys having her talents and feels fulfilled in learning the art of kung fu. Yeah, it's kind of like a simple, kind of like a boring good movie in a sense, where it's like, yeah, I mean, like, it does all the things it's supposed to do and it does it well. Like, I don't really have much else to say, I guess. At number 8, we have Geek Charming. I hate the way I say the word geek. I have a hard time saying it. Geek. Like, my mouth just doesn't want to say it. Geek Charming. Listen, it's a rom-com. It's a good, well-done rom-com. What else do I have to say? I will say that this movie probably wouldn't have been in the top 10 if I hadn't done my video on it, where I, broke down the plot of the book and compared adaptations. I have a sneaky feeling that this maybe would have still been high, but it wouldn't have been in the top 10, purely just because I had a newfound appreciation for the movie after seeing how bad the book is. Disney Channel, and I think also like other TV movies that are based off of books, they like to do this thing where they basically do the opposite of what the plot of the book is. And I don't know why. Maybe I'll, think about it and come up with a reason someday. But like a lot of the dcoms that are based off books basically have done the opposite of what the plot of the book is. And that's the exact case here for Geek Charming. But then they justify it. They make the story and everything fit their new idea more. And I think that's what I appreciate at the end of the day. Like, I would argue that the plot of Geek Charming just is more awkward, if that makes sense. It's just a very awkward, kind of clunky story. And this one's very smooth. It goes down easy. Everything flows. Everything makes sense. People do decisions that make sense one after the other. Like, we naturally see these two grow to be friends and then grow a more romantic interest in one another. It works. It flows. Like, it isn't just, oh, well, we're at the 45-minute mark, so that means they have to like each other now, so they're just gonna like each other. Like, there's a natural flow of it. Like, for example, they're two very passionate people about their own personal goals, and they're unwilling to budge and are just clashing heads, which leads to them blowing up and ruining the opportunity. But then, after both recoup and reanalyze their own, personal shortcomings, and then they go to reconcile, that is when they start to understand each other better and connect on a better level. Both realize that they took for granted the fact that, like, they really needed each other to cooperate, and then they didn't, and now things are, like, really gonna go bad, and all their plans are gonna be ruined if they don't work together, and they realize that working together is not, like, a problem. That, that they can actually just learn to like each other, and they will like each other if they're just nice and not immediately going into this relationship with their own personal biases and need. Wow, it's almost like that's how human interaction should be, and we have something to learn from this stupid decom. Also, the chemistry is electrifying to see on screen. These two worked together really, really well in the movie. And I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but if you haven't seen my video on this movie, they were together in real life, and apparently the guy was extremely abusive. And he's a horrible person. But at the time of the movie, they were happily in love, and that really comes across in the film. He almost ruins it, by the way, with his acting, let me just say. Sarah Hyland is a national treasure, and I wish she was in more movies. because she does a pretty good job in this one. Sarah Holland is okay, by the way. She left that guy, she got a restraining order, she's now married to a good guy, like, she's fine now. But still, it's sad that she had to go through that. At number 7, we have Brink. Man, I'm so glad that this ended up in the top 10, because this was literally, like, first day. Like, the day that I decided I wanted to watch every DCOM, I just started watching them, and this was one of the first ones I ever watched. And I'm glad that I still have, like, so much love for it to this day. Hey, so, my camera died, so I'm using my other camera now, and also my dog is here, and he's licking himself. Well, that's just gonna continue, so I shouldn't try fighting it. Hopefully you can't hear his licking on camera. So there's something just so charming about Brink, and it made me really excited to think that, like, basically all of the early stage DCOMs were going to be like this. And the answer to that was no, that wasn't the case, but I still enjoyed Brink. Andy Brinker as a character is just, he's like one of the most iconic, like Disney Channel, like, characters to me, because he's just such a good, pure-hearted soul. I like the villain character. Because this is a sports movie, it does follow a similar arc that a lot of the later DCOMs are going to follow, but Brink, I would argue, is like, you know, the predecessor to them all, so it's okay. But most sports movies follow this sort of arc where you have, like, a rival who is, like, the literal antithesis of everything that you believe in as a main character. And I like that he's not redeemed in the end. Something I kind of don't like about a lot of sports movies is where they redeem the villain, but then, like, that's it. Like, the villain is still, like, in a bad place. And it's not like I want them to redeem them at all, but it's kind of like either you're going to do a villain redemption story, or, like, you're going to have a story where, like, the antagonist is not really, like, a true villain, and, like, there is, you know, a villain is, like, the system or whatever. Or you just have the character just straight up be a bad dude, and that's the case in this movie. Like, you think they're going to try and redeem him at the end, but no, he's just a bad dude. And also, I like that they have to work together. That's one thing I love. I love it when, like, the hero and the antagonist have to, like, work together. And again, all of the friend characters are, like, really well fleshed out, but, like, only to the amount that they need to be. Maybe there were some hiccups here and there with them that I have forgotten, because, again, it's been literal years since I first watched this movie. But yeah, it's so fun. What can I say? I love Brink. There's so many good themes to chew on here about kids overextending themselves, trying to live up to an adult expectation, all that jazz. Yeah, highly recommend it. At number 6, we have Halloween Town. Now, come on, the vibes are just so good on this movie. This is one of those things where I would argue this is so high on vibes and vibes alone. I mean, obviously, it's still a good movie. There's a lot of really good, you know, stuff happening. Again, Marnie is a main character. S-tier Disney Channel character. Maybe I should do a Disney Channel original movie character ranking, where I pick a lot of, like, significant main characters in these movies and I rank them. That might be fun, because Marnie's definitely up there. She's cool and she's confident and she knows what she's about, and it's mainly just trying to get everybody else on her level, while also understanding that, like, you know, they need to process things in their own way too. The little fetch quests that they have to go on, and, like, the wonder and childlike, like, joy that comes with exploring a new world that's super whimsical and fantastical, like Halloween Town. It's great. Also, it has that sort of, like, Harry Potter plotline of, like, you think you live in a normal world and you think you're just a normal, boring person, but actually, like, you're secretly this really cool thing, and, like, magic exists and is real. I'm sold on the magic of this movie is what I'm trying to say. There are so many little bits and bobs of this movie that I think are, like, really well done. They all, like, contribute to the main story, and the main story is very simple. Like, this is a very simple movie, mind you. And that's okay, because it does what it needs to do for a simple movie, and so I really appreciate that. This is a huge nostalgia pick as well, because, like, is Halloween Town actually that good? To me, yes. But maybe to some other people, it doesn't deserve to be this high of a caliber ranking. Also, the 1-2 punch of Halloween Town and Brink, elite combo. That was such a fun, exhilarating part of the watch through for me. And I think the fact that like I went into these movies knowing that I'm going to watch every single one really did flavor how I was interpreting them and appreciating them. I would argue that kind of more negatively affected the bottom half of this tier, like the very ending of the chronological order, just because like it just feels so tired and worn out, this whole project. The Disney Channel original movie as a whole, it feels so directionless to a certain degree. And I don't want to hate on it that much, but also like, there's nothing super inspiring about these movies. There's maybe one or two that I think have a little bit of juice left in them, like The Prom Pact or Zombies 3. But as a whole, it just feels like this series is running on fumes. And there's just something so wonderful to look back when the Disney Channel original movie still had so much energy and life and spark still left in it. So yeah, that's why it's this high. It's like one of those things where it's like, why would I ever not recommend this movie to people? I think it's one of the most agreeable movies to like ever exist. Unless you know some people out there who are like against magic and say that like it's against their religion or something, that I understand. It doesn't need to be subversive to be good. It just needs to be good. I don't know if my dog agrees though. Anyways, on to number 5, Radio Rebel. Who gasped? Who's shocked? Here's the thing about Radio Rebel, okay? I talked about how much I liked it for 80 minutes. Yeah, it doesn't deserve to be in the top 5. I'm fully aware of that. The reason why I say it doesn't deserve to be in the top 5 is because I do not like the ending. I don't think the ending is good. I think there are fundamental issues with the ending that are pretty much impossible to reconcile. I mean, maybe if they were given more time to work on it, or if the way that this movie came about did not happen, then maybe the ending would be better. But everything else, it's pure, unadulterated, unfiltered dcom cheese. Like, this is the most dcom to ever dcom. And it technically isn't really even made by Disney Channel. The only reason why I count it as a dcom is because it aired on Disney Channel first, before it aired on YTV. But this movie technically was made for YTV as far as I'm aware. It may fall under the Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure clause for some people, it may not. It depends. I forget sometimes that, like, most people don't care. There is something so pure about this movie as just a weird, girly movie about a kid who wants to be a radio show host and is extremely shy. Of like, here's this shy, very reserved person who can barely even speak in front of the class, who is a radio show host and speaks to thousands of people in their town under the guise of like a secret identity. It's very cute and fun. The soundtrack slaps. I don't care what anyone says. Go listen to the soundtrack. I made a playlist of it on Spotify of all of the songs, because not all of it is included on the official soundtrack that's on Spotify. The character acting fits the movie. Whatever Debbie Bryan is doing in this movie, it fits the vibe of the story, okay? You can't say that it feels like out of place. It feels like it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing, okay?
It was a brisk fall day, Colorado, 1991.
Here we go.
When are people going to realize that so much of TV is like basically just a solitary reenactment of like watching a stage production? That so much of television and then like television movies in that sense are basically just going to the theater with your besties. Like, there's a certain level of suspension of disbelief you have to apply to these things. Sorry, I get very heated when people in bad faith talk shit about a lot of dcoms, especially Radio Rebel. But that's my own personal bias. I think in the years 2018 to 2021, I watched Radio Rebel at least once a month. So what is that, 4 years? So yeah, for 4 years straight, basically all I did was watch Radio Rebel. So that's the only reason why it's in the top 5. It doesn't deserve to be in the top 5, based off of my other metrics. But no, it's in the top 5. And it's my list, so y'all can't say shit, okay? I don't know why Radio Rebel gets me so angry. I think it's because I've, like, tattooed it onto my heart. Like, I think it's become a part of my DNA. So if someone insults Radio Rebel, it feels like they're insulting me. Yeah, when I said I had a parasocial relationship with this movie, I wasn't lying. I have to talk about this with a therapist. Why do I like Radio Rebel so much? I don't know. It's good. Watch my 80-minute video on it. It's one of my favorite videos that I've made because I just committed to the bit, and I like doing that from time and time again. Number 4. Okay, we're getting serious here, guys. This is like the serious part of the ranking. Like this is legit shit here, okay? At number 4, we have Wizards of Waverly Place, the movie. The show Wizards of Waverly Place is already a good show. It's one of the better Disney Channel shows, purely because of the character work that is done between Alex and Justin. I mean, Max is given dog shit, but you know, again, made a 55-minute video about that already. Another example of me committing to the bit, another one of my favorite videos I've made so far, even though it's a bit lo-fi and crunchy. The tone and the writing is absolutely phenomenal. And considering that this very much could have been a Sweet Life movie situation where like randos handled the story and it was really bad, and the fact that that didn't happen is very happy to me, because I could see a world where this movie was on the same level of quality as the Sweet Life movie, and that makes me really sad. So I'm glad that this story is so good. Like the story and the arc, it fits the characters. It kind of messes up the lore a little bit. The lore is a bit funky, but I mean, that's kind of like a character trait of the series. You can dislike the show because the magic system's broken, but if you like the show despite of the magic system being broken, then like, why would you have a problem with it in the movie then, right? Maybe one day I'll make a video where I try and explain the magic system with my own personal headcanons and like do another bit, you know, because I feel like that'd be funny. Yeah, the dialogue specifically, it's very naturalistic. That's probably gonna be like a recurring theme for these next 3 or 4 movies, is that I'm gonna probably try and not use the word naturalistic, but I am gonna use it.
I was at the junior championships when there was a tragic accident. It was a steamy August day in Darien, Connecticut.
To a certain degree, while I say that like these movies aren't real and you gotta take them with a grain of salt and you gotta appreciate them for what they are and treat them like you're watching like a stage production or something, you know, everything's going to be heightened and exaggerated. It's not gonna be realistic, because that's a big problem with a lot of movies these days, and people's expectations for movies is that they're expecting it to basically just be real life. Like when people watch movies nowadays, because of a bunch of history that I shouldn't get into right now, people expect movies to be real life. Like it's the closest we get to art imitating life in a certain degree, especially with the high quality cameras and all that junk. So people get mad when realism is not a part of a film, which is why I think so many people react negatively to movies like Radio Rebel, which are very heightened and exaggerated and, dare I say, camp. And I think that that's bad. I think that people should appreciate the theatricality and the artifice of these things, because they're not made to be real. But also, like, relatability is also an aspect of this thing. Obviously, the story of Wizards of Waverly Place is not real because magic isn't real. At least I don't think it's real. So the situation where like Justin and Alex are going on this crazy magical quest through the jungle is like not a realistic thing, but you can relate to the feelings that these characters have. And also their feelings and their writing and their motivation is all done expertly. Justin is analyzed the most he probably ever has been throughout the series in this movie, because he's given the chance to like not be the one who does the right thing in the end. They don't give a critical eye to a lot of Justin's actions because he is seen as like the good one and is doing the good things, versus Alex, which is seen as more devious. So her actions are more challenged throughout the stories. I challenge them as an audience viewer, but like the narrative and the story themselves are not challenging them. But they are for Justin, and that is, it's so good. I like the serious tone that this movie takes. It takes the stakes seriously, while still being a very fun and energetic movie. So, okay, let's just get this out of the way. Number 3 is High School Musical. I'm gonna keel over. I'm so exhausted. Here's the thing about High School Musical. It's a masterpiece. There was so much thought and like effort put into this movie. When I watch this movie, all I see is just like effort, because there are so many little details that all build to like one big great film. Also, I don't know if I trust somebody who doesn't have High School Musical, at least one of the two films that count as dcoms. I don't trust anyone who doesn't have those in their top 10. I mean, maybe if there's like some Gen Alpha kid or whatever who was born like 5 years after it came out. But even then, it's like, you must read the ancient texts. We forget that exactly 1/3 of these dcoms all came out before 2002. Like, that's fucking insane. I guess I don't want to spoil a lot of opinions I have on the characters for High School Musical, because that's kind of the idea I have for my video I'm going to make about them. I am going to make a High School Musical video one day. I guess I can say what the topic is going to be. Basically, I want to analyze Troy Bolton as a character and kind of like break down every single little aspect of him specifically, because I think it's a very fascinating arc that the character has through 3 movies. And other than the fact that he's played by Zac Efron, who they cast to be some sort of heartthrob in this movie, you really like Troy. Like, he's a good guy. You know, he really is. Because Gabriella gets like some characterization. She gets enough. And she's also a great character. I appreciate all of the aspects of her as somebody who is very focused on her future and how that's a flaw, actually. And then the music really speaks to all of this. All of the songs that they sing and all of the actions that they take in the songs are like, they work. You already know how good High School Musical is if you're this far into this video. You already know this. So like, do I really need to go on about how much this series is good? I guess I'll say one thing. Did you ever notice the color schemes of Troy and Gabriella as characters? Did you ever notice how blue is their color? Blue is associated with them seeing eye to eye and them connecting and them being their truest selves. So yes, that horribly disgusting Canadian tuxedo that Troy Bolton wears, that's his truest self. And isn't that amazing? Isn't that beautiful? Isn't it wonderful that that is the kind of effort they put into the story on that minute of a level? How many other dcoms can I say that has that much effort put into them? Not many. I can't think of any other dcoms where they do something that specific and cool. I mean, there are a few, but like, the story isn't also as good as High School Musical's story is. We kind of take for granted how good the story is, because it's just like a given that like, yeah, you know, it's a good story. Anyways, number 2. We're gonna keep talking about High School Musical, baby. It's High School Musical 2! Obviously. Obviously, High School Musical 2 is number 2. Did y'all notice that I hadn't mentioned it yet? Because there's no way. There's no way it wouldn't be in the top 5. I'm going a bit insane. I'm sorry, guys. I'm starting to get loopy, I can tell. Like, I'm reaching that kind of like dizzy state that one gets when they haven't slept and they need sleep. I think it's a very fascinating phenomenon when there is a trilogy of sorts, and how in some cases the sequel can be the worst movie, but in other cases the sequel can be the best movie of the series. I think that's very fascinating. High School Musical 3 is good. I don't know where I'd put it in the ranking. Probably pretty high as well. Would it be in my top 10? Probably. You know what? I might put High School Musical 3 above High School Musical. So, like, High School Musical 3 would be in between, maybe. Because, like, even though probably High School Musical 3, on certain technical aspects, can be seen as, like, better from an objective standpoint, I still think High School Musical 2 is the best one from a biased point of view. The story arc that Troy Bolton goes on in this movie is unbeatable. There's very, very little else that can compete with this story arc of a character. And the movie endears us more to all of the Wildcats. I Don't Dance is a gay pride anthem, and the setting is just so nostalgic and warm. Again, this is what the DCOM is supposed to do. It's supposed to provide just such an idyllic and warm version of childhood, where of course there are problems, of course there are issues, but like, things are okay. Everything's gonna be okay. You can have all of these things and it still be okay. And I think that's the feeling I get when I watch High School Musical 2. Everything's gonna be okay. I appreciate Sharpay as more of an active antagonist in this story, because I think it actually imbues her character with more of a sense of purpose. The first movie is just like, who's gonna ruin my musical, which is a decent like mode for her to be in. But I would argue the main problem with the movie, like the main conflict of the first movie, is the fact that like other people are against the status quo. Like Sharpay isn't the one who breaks them up. It's actually their friends. So I appreciate that we have more of just like a concrete like mastermind villain in this story, but it's also deeply empathetic and relatable. But like it only relates to the worst part of you. Sharpay is just used to getting what she wants, and this is something that she wants, and so she's going to get it without realizing the context of her actions and the consequences. And then she has to face those consequences, and I appreciate that. Anyways, there's probably more I can say about High School Musical 2, but my brain feels like a cup of ramen noodles, so I'm just gonna have to stop here. You already know it's one of the best movies of all time. Should have won the Oscar. Anyways, number one. I wish I was more cognitively aware right now, because I would love to talk about this movie all the time. Number one is Lemonade Mouth. I tried to kind of bury the lead on this one because I didn't want to reveal that Lemonade Mouth was my favorite decom, just for like a few reasons. I would argue it's a very stereotypical pick for number one. I think a lot of people who will do this will put Lemonade Mouth at number one. It's either Lemonade Mouth or Descendants, and that makes sense. Descendants was kind of like the movie that probably reinvigorated a lot of people into becoming Disney Channel fans as grown-ups. Like a lot of the people that I hang around in circles with, who are people who are my age or older than me, who are Disney Channel fans, and they work on archival things, they make gift sets. Like, they're grown-ups who are into Disney Channel. The only reason why they are grown-ups into Disney Channel, like myself, is because of Descendants. And I would argue that, for me, my version of that is Lemonade Mouth. Because as a kid, and I'm going to start using language that I have not used throughout this whole video because I don't think it is the proper language to use with these movies, and you guys already know this. But when I was younger, I saw Lemonade Mouth as a real movie. Like, it rose above the conventional slop genre that is, like, boring, basic kids movie into real movie status for me. Obviously, that's not what I think about dcoms anymore. As a jaded teenager, that is how I felt. But there's no such thing as a real movie. Like, all movies are real movies. Lemonade Mouth has a certain level of craft and artistry that I did not think was possible for the Disney Channel when I rewatched it as a grown-up, and even when I did watch it as a kid growing up. When I was in middle school, which was already like a few years after I had stopped watching Disney Channel, this was probably 2016, 2017, I would listen to the Lemonade Mouth soundtrack. I would add the songs to my playlists along with all of my other real songs, because again, this was still how my brain was working as an adolescent. And I read the book multiple times. I've read it twice, exactly, recently. And I plan on reading it a third time because I want to make a video in the same style as my Geek Charming video for this, where I compare adaptations between the book and the movie. Originally, I decided not to do that because I figured, well, other people have done that in the past, but as an English major about to get their BA in English literature, I like to think that I have special qualifications to review books. Somebody who, right now, my whole full-time thing is reading and analyzing books on a college level. Anyways, I have a hard time explaining how much I like Lemonade Mouth because it's just like, it's so inherent to my being that this is a good movie and a movie that is worth your time and effort. The cinematography is on a different level from all of the other movies. There is a cinematic quality to this film while also still being very simple. Like, they don't do anything that out of the box with the cinematography, yet there is a direct quality there, just like a master of craft behind the camera. The acting is completely different from any of the other DComs. The acting fits a lot more what I look for in acting, which is small facial expressions. That's something that I appreciate the most in a movie, is when characters, you see character in their face. and in little physical minute details along with clothing and like setting. Seeing those details fit with how the character is acting and the words they're speaking is what I look for in a quality performance. And we have that 5 for 5 across the entire board. Everything fits. Like everything works. Everything's working and on an expert level. In a way that, like, for a lot of these movies, that isn't the case. Like, that isn't really the case for Radio Rebel. I'll be honest here, even though I love that movie. I do have more to say about Lemonade Mouth, but I fear I might just lose my mind, even more than I already have, if I try and talk about it more. So, yes, Lemonade Mouth is my favorite decom. What's your favorite decom? Give me your top 10. Have you watched every Disney Channel original movie? I sure hope you haven't. Let me know your thoughts. There are very little people in the world who have done this, I think. There has to be some people who just, like, haven't found my video yet who have done this, and I want to hear what they have to say. I want to talk to anybody who's done this, because I want to feel less crazy. I feel like an insane person. Like, I have all this knowledge that I just, like, I don't know how to rationalize or provide a context for, so I need to speak with other people who have done this, because I know they're out there. Anyways,